Healthcare centers in need of upgrades in San Francisco. The price tag, nearly $400 million.
It is a down payment for the next generation.
But will voters be willing to foot the bill? Today, we're digging into the need.
We've actually had to close the clinic down a couple of times in the last 6 months because of the heat.
And why opponents call it a blank check. The pet projects, they say, are buried in the bonds.
We need the funding. It's really not an option not to have it.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Elizabeth Cook.
I'm Makovec in for Liz, and hospitals are looking for a lifeline right now. Millions of dollars for repairs and renovations. It's going to be up to San Francisco voters this November, but opponents are questioning how we can make sure that that money ends up where it's supposed to. We're going to hear from both sides of Prop B coming up. All right, it sounds scary to say it, but the election is just 2 weeks away. Here we are. On the ballot in San Francisco is a bond to rehab public health centers. It has a $390 million price tag, and as Kenny Choi reports, one of the health facilities that would benefit is an aging center in the heart of Chinatown that has not been renovated in almost 60 years.
Yeah.
When Dr. Stephanie Lay walks the hallways of the Chinatown Public Health Center, she thinks of her family.
I used to accompany my grandmother to her doctor's appointments.
The facility is one of 13 primary care health centers run by the Department of Health. The network of clinics, hospitals, and programs offer low-cost health care to residents. No insurance or green card needed.
I specifically came to work at this clinic because I saw my family in the patient population.
The center has served mostly low-income residents since 1929. Signs of aging infrastructure abound. Sitting atop the Broadway tunnel, the building is slated for a seismic retrofit to prevent collapse and major renovations to upgrade its ventilation system and 60-year-old windows that can't be opened.
We've actually had to close the clinic down a couple of times in the last 6 months because of the heat, when temperatures were hitting like 89 degrees.
They've used zip ties to keep air conditioner ducts in place to try and lower the temperature. Staff move fans and air purifiers daily. The center serves more than 6,000 residents. George Lim worked low-wage restaurant jobs in the 80s. With no insurance, he would limit visits even though it was considered low-cost care.
When I'm sick, I know I'm sick. I don't even go to the doctor. Just stay home, that's all. And wait until it recovers by itself.
If passed, the $390 million general obligation bond would also be used to repair and renovate other city hospitals, including Zuckerberg SF General and Laguna Honda.
There just isn't an option to not make investments now in these really critical infrastructure projects.
Not only that, more than $125 million would be earmarked to modernize downtown public spaces, street and sidewalk safety projects, and parks. Critics of Prop B call this more frivolous spending by the city. One of the main opponents, the San Francisco Apartment Association, has been critical of the city's bond spending over the past decade and says this is more of the same. Besides problematic high temperatures inside, Lay and her staff shift patients to rooms mid-visit if Wi-Fi connecting equipment and computers becomes spotty. A renovation would address those issues and more.
It just takes a load off of the management team and also the staff's concerns to have to think about, and they can just focus on patient care.
Longtime patients are hopeful and grateful.
It really helped the low-income people, low-income families. We do need this place.
The sense of trust that our patients provide us is really like an honor and something that I really value.
Dr. Lay could have chosen to work in a modernized private hospital with state-of-the-art technology. She wants to stay where she is to serve the underserved.
Well, this bond measure would not raise property taxes, but opponents emphasize that tax rates would go down if it fails. Coming up, we are hearing from both sides of the debate. A supporter of Prop B joining us next to talk about the need at our hospitals and the other projects tacked onto this bond. Welcome back to our conversation about Prop B in San Francisco. It is a $390 million bond for hospitals as well as sidewalks, parks, and shelter beds. So it's multifaceted. Joining me now, Joseph Swiss. He is the campaign manager for Yes on Prop B. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for the time.
And we saw a little bit in Kenny's report, but how bad are things at these healthcare centers right now?
You know, these are very critical and much needed improvements in our public health institutions. Prop B is a much needed $390 million investment in our public health and safety infrastructure. And you were right. This invests in our two largest public health institutions in the city. For example, the Chinatown Public Health Center, but also San Francisco General Hospital. That's the city's only level 1 trauma center where you and I would end up in an accident. This includes Laguna Honda Hospital and the City Clinic in Soma as well. So last week was the anniversary of the Loma Prieta earthquake. We've seen what that kind of damage can do in this city. To make sure that we're all safe in the event of a disaster or earthquake, or even the impacts of climate change, like you just saw with the Chinatown Public Health Center, we need to pass Prop B to make sure we can make these critical investments now.
No, really, Joseph, I think a lot of voters are surprised to even know that things were allowed to get this bad. You just think, okay, the city's going to take care of the public health facilities.
You know, San Francisco has a 10-year capital plan. We plan out similar like you do with your home. You oftentimes can't do everything all at once. Are you prioritizing your roof or updating your landscape, et cetera? So these projects oftentimes are hundreds of millions of dollars, and you can't do them all at once and make one generation of taxpayers carry that burden. This is a standard, fiscally responsible way to maintain our city's infrastructure that we all rely on in a manner that makes sure there's no waste, fraud, or abuse, and make sure we get these projects done in the order and time that we need it.
All right, when it comes to waste and maybe pet projects being plugged into this measure, that's something that a lot of voters are concerned about. The other measures beyond the public health care centers that are included, like street and sidewalk safety projects.
This is very much a public health and safety infrastructure bond. So this is everything related to infrastructure. That includes making sure our hospitals are safe and fully operable in an earthquake, but it also includes pedestrian safety improvements, shelters, and public spaces. But it all comes down to one thing: making sure that our infrastructure is safe and resilient when we need it most.
All right, well, how about the renovation of Harvey Milk Plaza? I know there's a few million in there for that.
Right. This does include these types of projects for our civic spaces. But again, this includes projects like making sure the Harvey Milk Plaza is ADA compliant, and as well as the Powell Street Station. These are places that are not only our residents rely on, but a large number of commuters and visitors alike. And when they come, we as a city, as a major city in America, want to make sure that these spaces are seismically safe, ADA compliant, and operable and able to serve us for generations to come. So again, Prop B is about our infrastructure, making sure our infrastructure can keep us safe. And again, since you brought it up, these are good measures that are helpful in our post-COVID recovery. This helps us boost our economy. This helps us bring more jobs. And that's why voters have approved the vast majority of bonds that the city has come to them with, because we have a great track record of getting these projects done on time and within budget.
All right, Joseph Swiss with Yes on Prop B. Thanks so much for your perspective today. We're going to hear from the other side of the argument, those against Prop B, coming up after the break.
The 49er Experience, Wednesday nights at 7:30.
welcome back to our conversation about Prop B in San Francisco, a measure that would fund some of the city's healthcare centers as well as various other infrastructure projects. Joining me now is Charlie Goss with the San Francisco Apartment Association. Thanks for being here today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about why you think that people should vote no on this measure.
So the fact of the matter is that the city spends an astronomical amount of money each year and isn't really making progress on the issues that matter most to San Franciscans. That's things like public safety, like homelessness, like having good public schools and clean and safe streets.
So what is the alternative when it comes to funding for the healthcare centers? The guest that we just heard from was talking about, Zuckerberg San Francisco General being the only level 1 trauma center in the city. So that's where you and I would be sent if we were in some very bad situation.
The truth is that only about half of the funding in Prop B goes towards hospitals. And Supervisor Aaron Peskin has said that what was in the measure is a lot of want-to-haves in addition to what the city instead of what the city really needs. What we have is a ballot measure that he didn't support until he added his favorite projects to it. And frankly, it's a lot of wants rather than what the city needs. We think voters should vote no and tell the city to go back to the drawing board with potentially a new bond in the future.
So what about one of the other, wants, need, whatever you want to call it, homelessness? We have families living in their cars on the streets, and some of this money would go toward facilities where they could live. Do you have an issue with that part of the funding?
I think our issue is that the city just isn't really using our existing dollars effectively. We spend $1 billion a year on homelessness, and we just aren't seeing progress on the issue. We don't think that would change with Prop B.
So from your perspective, this is mainly a fiscal no. It's not necessarily the projects themselves that you don't think that we should be funding.
That's correct. We don't think the city uses its dollars effectively to deliver the results that really San Franciscans deserve.
How do you think they should do that?
I think the fact is that the city has a $16 billion budget. We have 810,000 residents. We are still paying for 6 other general obligation bonds that total more than $3 million. And we're not really seeing the progress on what's important. The city needs to go back to the drawing board, needs to be more fiscally responsible, and needs to work day in and day out to make progress on these issues instead of going back to the voters with expensive bond measures.
Yeah, and can you talk a little bit about the frustration? We've been saying that a lot of this is funding for healthcare, but there's so many other issues like renovating Harvey Milk Plaza and the Powell Market Street stations. Your frustration when it comes to them asking for money under a certain guise that perhaps confuses some voters.
Yeah, that's correct. What we see on this list is a sort of a potpourri of wish lists that perhaps the city would like to fund, and they're conveniently doing this while 2 of the main sponsors of the ballot measure are running for mayor. We think the city needs to go back towards fiscal responsibility, needs to focus on the basics, and really deliver results that the residents deserve.
All right, Charlie Goss with the No on Prop B campaign. We really appreciate your perspective on that. CBS News Bay Area is, of course, your election headquarters. We are covering all the races around the Bay and around the country. And we want to be the place that you come to on election night and the days after, because, of course, the vote counting will continue. So we're going to be on air on our website, kpix.com, and streaming on the free CBS News app 24/7. Thanks for watching. You can always get all the latest headlines and weather over on Kpix Plus. And remember to like and click the button on the bottom left of your screen to subscribe for the biggest Bay Area news.